Hello, my name is Caspar Sonnen. I work at IDFA, which is the International Documentary Film Festival in Amsterdam. It was founded 25 years ago, or 26 years ago actually. And it's one of the main events on the creative documentary filmmaking calendar. It's held annually in November and we show over 300 films every year. I run IDFA's new media stuff. It's I think probably the best way to describe what I do at IDFA. And in 2008, seeing some of the stuff that was happening on the web, seeing some of the amazing art projects, but projects by scientists, like from all over the place. A lot of these projects were actually non-fiction, and this was an interesting thing because we were one of the biggest documentary festivals in the world, but we didn't really have a place for that because we showed films. That's what we did. Occasionally photography, but all these sort of strange web stuff, the stuff that you've been getting presented here today, we didn't have a place to show it. So that's why we started IDFA DocLab. And basically, so what is IDFA DocLab? It's not a lab. That's probably the most complicated part about it. It's a competition program at its core. Every year we select 15 of the best interactive documentaries that we find worldwide on the web, at art schools, wherever. The winner gets a €2,500 cash prize. And over the last 5 years, well, we've had some of the winners, High Rise, In Situ, last year Alma that you just saw, Alma, A Tale of Violence, which by a nose length beat Bear 71 in the finals. Most amazing jury discussion I've ever witnessed, and we've shown a lot of this stuff. Also, stuff by NPR, Submarine Channel, artists like Jonathan Harris, Aaron Koblin, indie artists from all over the different disciplines. So we have a website. All the projects that I just named, you can find them on the website. There's about 100 there. And we do a conference, we do panels, we do lots of stuff, installations. But I think for me the most exciting part about the program and the most scary part of the program is the live cinema events that we do every year, which is a way to solve the problem that a lot of these interactive documentaries are made for individual consumption on a small screen. And that doesn't really work in a festival context, which is all about experiencing art together. So the live screenings are, you can see on the top left, you can see Ira Glass. He did a live version of This American Life. On the top right, you can see an Italian interactive documentary filmmaker who did a live navigation of his project, and that's actually what we do a lot. We ask the creator of an interactive documentary to sit below the screen and basically do a live navigation, which creates a sort of film-like experience that we sell tickets to and that are sold out very quickly. So it's a strange thing, but it works. And then we do more elaborate versions. Last year with the NFB, we did a big live event where we had Insomnia. We had like insomniacs from the audience come and do share their secrets on the big screen in front of an audience, like scary stuff. Occasionally we also commission projects. I'm just in the middle going to say the Robots in Residence project, which is also here. And I think tomorrow at 5 there's the premiere, right? And I can't wait because I saw what some of the people told the robots in Amsterdam, and I cannot wait to see what New Yorkers tell the robots. Finally, in case anybody is interested in finding money, IDFA also has the IDFA Forum, and at the IDFA Forum we also have a cross-media section for interactive documentary projects. So, what are we looking for? What type of projects? I don't want to go into definitions or why I don't like the word transmedia, so I just say we have 4 main ingredients. We look for projects that have a great story, that have a great interface. Interface for me is in an interactive documentary is at least as important as camera and editing in a linear documentary. We look for projects that capture reality, not create a non-existent one. That would be fiction. And we love projects that do something with digital data. Which brings me to the topic of today. How much time do I have left? The past. I'm going to start with a clip. Apologies to the people who own this screen for creating such a low-res, crappy experience. But this is a video transferred from VHS to YouTube from 1995. So there basically wasn't a high-res version available, which goes into archiving of digital stuff. But let's skip that. So just watch the video.
In recent years, a relatively unknown communication system called the Internet has exploded in popularity with such intensity that it's predicted that over 25 million people will be using it by the year 1998. There is nothing in the history of the human race that compares to the impact that the Internet will have on how we communicate. The question is not whether you'll become part of that action, but when.
So I love that guy, but I think he's wrong in a sense that he goes on and he tells his story that he's apparently an archaeologist and that's his assistant back there, and they used to do their research using books, and now books are gathering dust on his desk because they're obsolete because, yay, the internet is here. And I think this paradigm of new replacing the old is a really sort of confusing and often wrong way to look at what's happening in digital storytelling right now. So that's why I think it's much more messy. I would say progression is not linear always. The new affects the old, but progress doesn't always happen in a nice linear fashion. And it's not always in sync. The development of technology, the evolution of technology is not always in sync with the way that we can think or the language that we have to use these technologies. So if we take, for instance, a look at, I actually don't know if this is a toy or a real device, but apparently it's a pair of 3D glasses. But this is actually a working prototype from 1963, a few years later, and these are television glasses. And I think we can see where this is going, right? From ape to Neanderthal to the sophisticated Google Glass human being. And I think it's very large, or it's very clear that we have this sort of linear progression from clunky technology with antennae to this sleek, sophisticatedly designed new device that I'm actually really excited about to see what's going to happen with it. But I'm not sure how we're going to use it actually. And I think Lonely Sandwich on Twitter. And I'm finding this very awkward because I remember when this came out that I said, well, who needs like an oversized iPhone? Now I'm here. So I don't know where we're going, but I do know that the language of using stuff like Google Glass is not there yet. That's why Google is giving it to people to come up with cool uses of it. Because if you look at the commercial, it looks a lot like 1980s or mobile phone commercials, or even tampon commercials, but that's besides the point. And we see a lot of this sort of this problem in interactive storytelling as well. For instance, if we look at, I think sort of the most obvious suspect, the usual suspect when we think about interactive documentary storytelling is looking back at, hey, that's nothing new. We've seen choose your own adventure books and they sucked, or at least according to most filmmakers. And games, that's like a different thing. And we see a lot of the same mistakes that early game developers made and the people who wrote choose your own adventure books. We see those mistakes being made today in some of the interactive projects that we don't select. And at the same time, we see stuff happening in interactive documentary that I've never seen in games or that I haven't seen in Choose Your Own Adventure. So there's sort of this old, new, linear thing doesn't really work. And to understand that, I think it's important that we expand our scope because interactive documentary, also uses the stuff that happened in the past, not only these usual suspects as games and choose your own adventure books, but also city symphonies or many other of the timeless masterpieces that were created in the early days of photography and film, when that was the new medium. Or direct cinema, where small, lightweight film cameras created a whole new language for intimate storytelling, or fly-on-the-wall documentaries, as they were called. Maybe Google will bring us, I don't know, fly-on-the-face documentaries at some point. But also besides film, besides media, look at dataist poetry. A lot of interactive and participatory stuff that we see on the web today links directly back to that. Video art, performance art. Here is Perry Bard, who did The Man with the Movie Camera Global Remake. It's sort of a remake of Ziga Verto's Man with the Movie Camera, but at the same time it's maybe a precursor for Star Wars Uncut that we can see at the Story Space. Storyscapes, sorry. But also, I mean, all these other disciplines, that's where interactive documentary storytellers are taking their inspiration from. And if you want to dive deeper into that, I do urge you to write down this link, or go there, find it, Google it. It's a project we did last year together with MIT Open Documentary Lab. I'm not sure if they're here, but they're awesome. And because we celebrated our 5th anniversary, they asked us to, or we started to look for a way to collaborate, and in the end what it became was Moments of Innovation, which is a website where all these sort of links back in history, if you take, for instance, on the website the theme data visualization, you can go back from cave paintings thousands of years ago to early infographics that tell a story, to new software, the processing software that resulted in Jonathan Harris's masterpiece, We Feel Fine, and soon to be added to as the final project of the data visualization timeline, Bear 71. Which brings us neatly to the present. How much time do I have left? Okay. Sorry. Jet lag, you know. So today we're living the age of the interface. I think there was a panel at South by that was very aptly called Are Smartphones the New Smoking? And I think it's funny how sort of the ban on smoking started around the time that the iPhone came out. And I mean, I, for one, stopped smoking when I got an iPhone, and it's definitely confronting to know if I'm at a party to find out how often I just go like, yeah, instead of talking to someone. Next, yes. This has led us to live a connected culture nowadays. And even though the African continent is black, that's sort of a misrepresentation, because the stuff that's happening there with mobile phones is like really interesting. But in the West, smartphones and digital technology have totally changed the way that we behave when we're together, and it changed the way that we behave when we're alone, on the toilet, for instance. And apparently, at least 1 in 10 of you has dropped their phone in the toilet. Can we see a raise of hands? Just statistical lying stuff. Anyway. Yeah, that counts too. Let's see. So, on a more serious note, we're living in an age of new gatekeepers. Power is shifting from traditional television and traditional media to new media. And still, even though I think the digital revolution has sort of, the dust is settling a little bit on social media, etc. I don't think there's going to be a new YouTube anytime soon. But there's lots of new technology still coming out. 3D printing, the leap motion in these touchless interfaces, the drones. All of this is still blurring the boundaries. This is a very old picture, but it's still relevant today. I think it's easier to define what an interactive documentary is than it is to define what a newspaper is today. Like, a newspaper used to be printed on cheap paper, published daily, containing mostly news. I don't know what it is today. Like, it can be a television channel at some point. So in short, reality today is pretty complicated, and artists are needed more than ever to tell stories that both criticize and utilize modern technology. Which brings us to the future. I'm not going to predict the future. I don't know how to. I'm not capable of that, and I'm very happy that I am not. So I'm just going to close with a few random thoughts about mostly the near future. Stories about holodecks and stuff, that I leave that to other people who have more imagination. But I would say that today there is, like, the great thing about the internet is that there is no box. There is no structure, there is no format. If you're a filmmaker in documentary, you know the 52-minute slot. For television, you have the 90-minute for feature. If a short, basically, you can do nothing with that except put it on Vimeo. And this is sort of a really interesting space for artists, because, and it's something that a lot of artists are struggling with, in my experience, because we all tend to, like, rebelling against the Hollywood convention is what makes you a very cool, artsy filmmaker. But if there's no limit, there's no format, there's nothing to rebel against, then a lot of people feel a little bit lost. And that's why we see interactive narratives that go on and on and on and on and on, and nothing happens. And you're like, why didn't you make a better editing decision here? Because there was nobody telling them to. And as a result, I think for the near years to come, the internet is still not just another TV pipe. It's still a place for unprecedented freedom, and that's the good news, because we can reinvent storytelling and do the projects that we want. On a more practical level, I think the mouse is dead, or at least it's in the jaws of the cat. But the age of the interface has only just begun, I would say. So I don't have time to show this video. So for those who don't know this project, it's done by the guys who did pointerpointer.com last year. It's a Dutch design agency, and they sort of made this as a memorial to the physical mouse that we're losing. And what you're seeing is the recording of everybody's mouse pointer that has visited the project so far. So we got to this point. Personally, there's a lot of talk about the future, the end of like everybody can be a storyteller, blah, 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 blah. As much as I love everybody being able to participate, I don't think that the audience will become the auteur. I think we need auteurs more than ever, especially when we do participatory projects like this. This is taken from Zé Frank's Young Me, Now Me, like one of the most important internet auteurs I think of today. His audience is co-author, but this wouldn't happen without the author starting the project. Interactivity will always be like salt. Don't add too much. It can ruin any story. And it's very hard to sort of take it out. Just like in cooking, it's like too much salt, you can throw away the soup usually. I think, but I'm not sure, but I think that more authors will become publishers, take matters into their own hands. Audiences will become curators, make their own selections and find their own stuff, be it automated or by hand. And hopefully, everything will become available on demand at some point. And as a result, I think there's two options, either interactive or regular documentary, or any artist goes for more quality, more amazing, timeless, exclusive projects, or go faster and cheaper and do more newsy type stuff. And I personally really like the first option, so I really would hope that, as I wrote down, we stop multitasking and start making timeless masterpieces and stay playful while we do that. Thank you.